Oh, go ahead, Mom. What were you going to
We
say?
say greetings to you all out there in virtual land. We are celebrating this weekend our veterans, and we
Yes.
do applaud them for so courageously serving our country. And we have our family, I think it's the 1, 2, 3 generations that's going to be talking to you today. 3 generations of military personnel. We're so happy. We have my brother, we have my son, my grandson, and my granddaughter-in-law. And I do have my sister-in-law that's coming on, and they were all military. And Letitia is going to take it away from here to ask some questions.
Well, we all going to pitch in and ask questions, but first of all, Uncle Billy,
Yes, ma'am.
what motivated you to join our military?
Well, to tell you the truth, nothing motivated me to join.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
It motivated me to stay away because I was drafted.
Oh,
Wow.
In other words, I didn't have a choice.
Wow.
I was during the era of the Vietnam conflict.
Wow.
So they needed as many men as they could get. So they drafted me. I went in unhappily. I was initiated in Fort Hollywood. From there, I went to Fort Bragg. From Fort Bragg, I went to San Antonio, Texas. I was trained as a frontline field combat medic. I went to Vietnam. I served in the 2nd 47th Infantry, 9th Division, attached to the 25th. And my service number is US 516-75523.
Go ahead now, Uncle Billy. Remember that number.
That stuff.
I was a 91 Bravo, which is medic in the infantry, and all of the medics are attached to Delta Company or D Company.
Oh,
Wow.
I was assigned to Bravo or B Company.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
And I stayed there. I stayed there 11 months. 12 months was mandatory, but my unit got sent to Cambodia, so that they sent me back to the States, back to San Antonio, Texas.
Oh my Lord.
And I do not regret it. I learned a lot.
Okay.
I appreciate a lot of cultures. I met a lot of different nationalities, and I really appreciate going. So I don't begrudge it, and I don't regret it.
Okay.
Woo!
All right. Good.
So what motivated you to go into the military? Were you drafted?
For me?
Yeah.
No, by the time I graduated from high school, the Vietnam War was over.
Okay.
I think it was over in 76, I want to say. And I graduated from high school in 79.
Okay.
So it was basically over. And no, I volunteered. I didn't get drafted. I think I just wanted some kind of adventure. That's why I went in. And you know, when you're a teenager, you're kind of trying to figure yourself out. So when I went in, I had to take the test. It's a aptitude test, and I did really well on it. And so they wanted me to get into a technical field, which is why I became.
Oh, technical difficulties. Uh-oh.
So back then, it's been changed now. I don't know what it's called now. They have different equipment. What we had was the old equipment. Billy probably remembers those, the radios,
Sure do.
the PRC 77s, and I'm sure you remember those. You can carry those on your back, or you can mount them to a Jeep or a vehicle. What was that, Bill?
I sure do, and you sure can. The radio man.
He used to fix them.
The radio man.
He repaired them, right, Willie?
The radio man was very essential because that's how we communicated with one unit.
Yeah.
And to the rear.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's how we got air support and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So you had different models that went on different type vehicles. You had the bigger ones, you couldn't carry them. You had to mount them like in tanks or on a truck, something like that.
So you were motivated to go in because you wanted to like get out the house, go on your own.
Yeah, well, that too. But then, I tried to follow in my dad's footsteps because he always fixed things, and I always like to tear things apart and put them back together to try to fix them.
You too.
And that's how being curious about how to make something work.
How does it work? Mm-hmm.
And so I actually started in high school learning how to fix small appliances and learning about electricity and electrical components and everything. So I just wanted to continue that.
Okay.
So that's one of the reasons why I went in.
Wow.
Ronald, why did you join the military?
I joined because I wanted something stable. I wanted something stable. I wanted to be able to provide for my family. I really didn't know what I wanted to do outside of high school. And even when I graduated, I was doing nothing. I was working at like Under Armour for about a year, and I was like, well, this ain't it. And so I already had the first recruiter I dealt with was a Marine recruiter who used to like show up to my football games. He like popped up at the house sometimes. He was trying to get me to join the Marines. I took my ASVAB with them. And then if you go to the recruiting stations, they're all next to each other. So once I got a good enough score, I was like, I'm trying to join the Uncle Joe told me to join the Air Force.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So he was like, don't do the Marines, do the Air Force. So I went to the Air Force. They didn't want me. So the Army guys stuck their head out and was like, hey, what you doing? As I was leaving, I was like, all right.
Rana, they want you, Rana. I went with you, Rana.
They had a waiting list, right?
No, the Air Force were only taking officers at the time. When I tried to join, they were only taking officers. So you needed 4 years of college or ROTC or something.
Okay.
And I didn't have it, so.
All right.
And you were overweight too, I saw.
Hey, Ma.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Really?
You were a football player, Rana. You played football.
Wow, you were
Lord have
during
mercy.
the Army. That's what I heard.
Wow.
Put you
No,
on
but yeah,
the-
I mean, I was overweight, but that wasn't a factor.
Yeah.
I would have been all right, especially in the Air Force. Yeah, the Air Force, all of them fat. So
Maria, like, you leave my boo alone, Ma. She like, you were not fat, boo. You were not fat.
What about you, Maria? What motivated you to join the military?
It was just school. That was it. Because I knew I didn't have means to pay for school. So only the military was going to do that. So it was just school.
Okay.
And that's why I joined in my junior year. So I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Uncle Billy, can you tell us a little bit about your time in boot camp? Did you like
In boot camp?
Yes.
Boot
I
camp.
surely can. All right. When I went to boot camp,
Uh-huh.
I had a hair full of nice black waves,
Uh-huh.
and I had a gold tooth. Matter of fact, I had 2 of them. And when I went to boot camp, they picked on me, and this is what I mean. I had my dress uniform on, and I was going to get equipment like the entrench tool and all that stuff.
Right.
I had my hands in my pocket. So this drill sergeant came to me. He said, "You don't know where to put your hands, do you?" I caught on immediately.
Oh.
I said, my hands on in my pocket, drill sergeant. He said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Baltimore, Maryland." He said, "Yeah, I heard about y'all."
Yes, yes.
He said, "Get down and give me some push-ups." I looked at him,
Uniform.
but he didn't tell me how many. So I knew I was in trouble. So I did them until I couldn't do no more. I looked at him, I said, "Permission to get up, drill sergeant." He looked at me and said, "Get up." So I finally got up, then when I got up, he said, every time you see me, give me push-ups.
No.
And then he said, what are you
Yes.
looking for? What are you looking at me for now? Get down and give me push-ups. And I'm thinking, I just finished giving you some. So he said to me, by the time I get done with you, you're gonna look like Hercules.
Oh, wow.
So what I did, even when I was in my own company, whenever that guy passed by, I was thinking my drill sergeant was gonna look out for me.
Mm,
Every time I saw that guy, he gave me the eye, and I had to give that guy a push-up. So one day we went to Chow, the mess hall, y'all,
mhm.
or the restaurant for y'all civilians. But
Cafeteria.
everywhere we went, we had to run.
Yep.
So I came out the mess hall. I saw him. I said, "Oh man." He said, I looked at him, full stomach full of food. I gave him push-ups.
You shouldn't have looked at him.
Then I heard he had got busted. So I looked at him. I said, "How you doing, drill sergeant?" He gave me the eye. In other words, like, why are you being smart? So in other words, I use reverse psychology. I kept messing up so that they could give me push-ups. By the time I came out, I got the plaque for the most physical fit. So so in reality, it didn't hurt me because when I joined, I was already in tip-top physical shape.
Yeah.
So my drill sergeant told me, he says, "Parker," he said, "you look like a man that can run the mile, that can run all day." I said, "I'm all right, drill sergeant." And during that time, we had to run the mile backwards. Yeah. We had to run the mile
Jesus,
backwards.
the blood of Jesus.
And also you had guys throwing up, falling out. And
Yeah.
since I didn't carry a weapon, and I was trained as a medic, so since I didn't carry a weapon, we had to put men on our backs and run with men on our backs.
Stop playing.
You did.
Yeah, we had to run with men on our backs,
Lord have mercy.
and that made us strong. And at the end of all of that, we had a low crawl, like snake.
You men.
We had the low crawl and all that stuff. So it made me strong, and I came out good.
Wow.
Good Lord.
Crazy.
Yeah, Bill, I did
Why
not
do
say
you
that
want to
push-ups
preach?
too.
Wrong with
He's
men
like,
on your
I'm a
back,
preach
Billy.
guy.
Where'd you go to
Right.
basic, Uncle Billy?
Huh?
Where'd you go to basic?
Well, I started in Fort Bragg, but
Yeah.
but they sent me to Fort Sam Houston because I was trained to be a medic. When I was in Fort Bragg, it was so cold that my feet and hands froze through my boots and gloves.
Good Lord.
And the guys who were there already, we had to take off our shoes before we went inside, and it was winter time.
Oh, no way.
And in our boot camp, they woke you up 3 o'clock in the morning. You went to training, and if you went to bed at 3 o'clock, they decided to give you a fire drill at 5 o'clock.
No way.
And if you weren't, and you had to come out with whatever you had on. If you had on thermals, that's what you came out in. If you had on shorts, that's what you came out in. And if everybody didn't wake up, you got penalized because we were supposed to help each other. So then we had to do bivouac in the snow, which means we had partners. He had a pup tent, I had a pup tent. We put them together, and we slept in a
Jeez.
what's those things called, Willie?
The Arctic sleeping bags.
Yeah, sleeping bags. We slept in sleeping bags in the snow, and I was freezing. So the drill sergeant said, "Who slept cold?" I said, "I did." He says, "Well, the next time, take off your clothes." And I'm saying, "What?"
Yeah.
I'm thinking I froze in them. But guess what?
Yeah.
When I took them
It
off,
makes sense.
It helped.
my body heated me up so much I didn't want to come back out.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, you can't be in their sleeping bag with your clothes on.
That's right. So
I thought he was being mean.
Me too,
No.
Tish.
Me too.
Wow.
Boot camp was exactly what it says. They
Boot.
gave me the boot.
Lord have mercy.
But I came out, matter of fact, we had to climb ropes with your hands like this.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned how to do that in high school. So we were trained that when we climb ropes, you could do them with your legs like this, or you could do it like this. Well, I climbed mine like you're running. I did my legs like this, and I take my hands and pull me up. So by the time the other guys were going up, I was already coming down.
Wow.
Go ahead, Uncle Billy.
So one guy said, "Look at that monkey." Then we had to do the parallel bars. The parallel bars, you know, when you're doing it and you're in what it is, the monkey gym, the horizontal bars, you had to do them maybe 120 in a few amount of minutes. Well,
Wow.
I was going so fast that my drill sergeant said, get down. Because he knew I was going to pass it.
Wow.
And I was also very swift of feet. So we had to race. We had to race.
Swift of
always
feet.
came out on the front.
Glory.
So I wasn't in very good shape. And believe it or not, I got so I really liked it. I like the fact that when I walk down the streets, people would say, one lady said, "Ooh, I wish I was a man so she could be a soldier."
The blood of Jesus! Get away from me, Jezebel!
Oh no.
I enjoyed it.
Maria was making a whole bunch of crazy faces. What were those faces about, Maria?
I just can imagine how like it.
She's soft. She doesn't like army stuff.
I like it.
Like the responses, I can just tell like he got beat up for it for the responses. 'Cause I was just quiet the whole time, so like
Yeah,
I already
who was cold? Like I would have never.
no, yeah, I would have never said that.
That's crazy.
That just asking for something.
Right.
I
Like,
heard
don't
you guys are supposed to know.
And when you ran the mile, you ran in combat boots.
Yeah. Well, we did PT in boots. We did
didn't run the
PT
sneakers?
in boots and the whole uniform. We didn't
Lord
have,
You
Jesus.
didn't run the sneakers.
no, we didn't run the sneakers.
Okay, pizza.
And what we had to do when we first got our boots, they weren't broken in.
Sure.
So you had to wet them. You had to
Wet
soak them
them?
in water, and then you had to wear them. That's the only way you could. That's the fastest way you could break them in.
Oh,
You wear your
my Lord.
boots while they were wet, and
I
it
know.
still
So they can
hurts.
stretch or something?
Well, I
Yeah,
didn't try
it
that.
softens
more
the
malleable.
leather up.
And you go
It
outside
softens- it
in
softens
wet
the
boots.
leather up.
Well, I didn't. I
Yes.
didn't have.
You do
I didn't have that
everything, run
experience.
everything in the boots while they
Mine-
wet.
Mine fit pretty good.
That's what we had to do.
So Willie, what was your experience in boot camp?
Lord Jesus.
Well, I had somewhat similar to what Bill was saying, except that I caused it because you have to what they call spit shine the floors and clean up the barracks, and the floors had to be really, really shiny. And
Daddy
so
showed you how to
we
do
passed
that.
inspection that morning, but after we got finished for work that night or whatever, we would supposed to go to bed. But me and this other guy, we were wrestling on the floor, and we had our boots on at the time, and everybody was saying, trying to pump you up, right? And we looked up, and the drill sergeant was standing over top of us, and he said, "Look at what you guys did to the floor." Looked at the floor, there were black marks all over that. I mean, black marks. So,
Oh my goodness. Oh, we can't hear you, Will.
Hey, freezing.
You're
I think
freezing
it's
here.
Go
It's
ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
now we
so-
can.
Okay, so we're doing push-ups, and he said, "You're gonna do push-ups until I get tired."
Dang.
And that's exactly what we did. And we just stayed there. I know for at least 30 minutes just doing push-ups. And then you have to ask, request permission to recover. And they said, well, no, give me some more. You didn't do that one right. Then you had to count them. You had to count them while you were doing them. You had to count them while you were doing them. And if you do one wrong, you start over.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Willie,
so
it seemed like you would have learned from getting all those whoopings. Daddy gave you whoopings, but you
Oh, no,
still
no,
acting
I
up.
didn't learn. I didn't.
In the military.
I did not
In the
learn.
military.
Did they make y'all clean the
did not learn.
floor from all the black marks?
Oh yes. We had to clean the floor also. We
They had to clean all the floors.
strip the floors. We had to strip the floors, put the wax back down, buff them out, and it had to be better than it was when we found it. So, that was just one story. And like Billy said, when they heard that you were from Baltimore, they just didn't like you.
Baltimoreans for real?
No, for some reason. Oh, you from Baltimore? They used to call me. They used to just call me. What did they used to say? I thought I was slick or something like that. You from B? Yeah, you from B-more. You from B-more. You think you slick, and they used to be harder on me because I was from Baltimore.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And I
terrible.
was one of the smallest ones there, but I had that fight in me, so I knew I wasn't gonna give up. And it was guys there that was way bigger than me, with muscles in it that couldn't do as many push-ups as I could do. They couldn't, and see, I couldn't run fast, but I ran long distance. I could run for a long time. I could run like 7 to 8 miles, you know.
It's the area.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's from Baltimore, y'all.
I ran.
Only shades in the Parker family.
We had to run 2 miles, and my 2-mile time was less than 12 minutes, and which was pretty fast. If you're not trained to be a runner.
6 months.
So I think I ran the 2 miles in like 10:30 or something like that. So
oh no way. That's crazy.
I used to run there. I used to run.
Did they pick on you, Rhino, since you were from Baltimore?
I was a squared away soldier. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that aggression, they don't, I'm 6'2", 200 some pounds. So they were trying to knock me down anyway. But I was good for it. I didn't have a lot of trouble. The only time I got in trouble a few times, but a couple of times it was from my buckmate. And then one time I got
your
in trouble.
Butt mate.
My bunkmate.
Bunk.
Oh, butt.
Oh, you got it. You gotta speak English, son. You gotta speak English.
My bad. No, bunkmate. Yeah. But no, I'm gonna stuff like that. I don't know what. I was late. We had to. A couple times they would make us like switch uniforms, and they called it like a 2-minute drill. It was really like a 30-second, like 45-second drill.
Right.
Where you had to be dressed, whatever uniform they told you to put on, you had to put that on, and then go form up. So our barracks was on the 2nd floor. So we was in formation. They like go put on your ASUs. We went upstairs, put on our ASUs. Like your what do they call them? Your dress uniform, Class A's. Yeah.
Oh.
So we had to put on that, come downstairs, and they're like, okay, full battle. So we put on our TV, put on our full battle rattle, yeah. Gloves, vests, all our pads, a weapon. They're like, okay, now go get in this. And we had to do that. So I missed that. And we had to go out to the wood line, which I don't even know how to just. It was probably like 300 meters away, and threw my dog tags out there, and I had to go find them. Me and my bunkmate had to go find them. But that was as bad as it got for me. Let's see what else happened.
Why'd you throw your dog tags, Ronald?
I didn't throw them.
You didn't throw them.
Why they throw your dog tags?
Because he's from Baltimore.
It was because I was late. I was late getting down there. It wasn't just me.
Oh,
just
Lord.
Everybody that was late had to do that.
What about you, Maria? What was your experience?
Yeah, we should have went first. We should have went in reverse order.
The worst one was because so me, I was quiet. I did everything everybody told me.
Oh,
The worst
So did
thing
I.
they told me was they called me Smiley because every time I got yelled at, I just smiled and just did it. And then one time I know a drill sergeant, he was like from Africa.
Uh-oh.
And I didn't know how to pronounce his name. And he said, so I asked him something. I asked drill sergeant, I can't remember his name, but it was hard to pronounce. And I said, drill sergeant, his last name. And he's like, what did you just say? I said, drill sergeant. And then I said it differently. And then he's like, what did you just say? And I was like, drill sergeant. And I kept on saying his last name. And he just kept on like yelling at me for it. And I was like, what? I don't know what you want me to say. And then he's like, you don't say my last name. I'm just drill sergeant to you. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And then he had me do push-ups. But after that, I didn't say any of the drill sergeant's names after that.
Wow.
Did you smile anymore?
No, I did.
Smiling?
I got
You
in
kept
trouble for
smiling?
smiling a lot. Yeah. It's just,
You
will get in trouble.
I smile.
It was
So
fine.
like I got in
for
trouble for that
smiling?
too. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
because if they get in your
goodness.
face and they're
Now they
giving
say,
you
why
orders.
you smiling, Paul? Stop smiling, Paul.
Yeah.
Stop smiling.
Yeah. There was one time I went to get lunch lunch, and there was two drill sergeants. There was a female and a male. And I was smiling. I was getting lunch, and she's like, are you smiling at my drill sergeant? And I was like, no. And she's like, why are you smiling at him? Do you think he's cute? I'm like, no.
He's not cute.
And she's like, oh, so you don't think he's cute? And I was like, no. And she's like, oh, so do you hear that, drill sergeant? She thinks you're ugly. And I was like, I'm sorry. I don't know what you want me to do. So yeah, I got in trouble for that too. I just smiled too much.
In the army.
They mean.
No, no, it's mental. It's mental.
Yeah.
So they want you to be strong mentally. And so
Yeah.
that's why they do that.
That's why
And then
they
and a lot of times they break you all the way down and then
They
build
can
you
build
back
you
up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you'll have more discipline. They want you to have discipline. And then
And
they want you
it's
to-
more than discipline. It's like a calmness under pressure. If you can
Yeah,
function well under pressure, then can't nobody stop you from doing what you need to be doing at that time.
Preparing you for warfare. They're
So,
preparing you.
then
so how do
you have to
they
do-
build you back up after they break
Yeah.
you down? How do they build you back up? Once you-
Okay, so-
you beat it. You win. You win.
Yeah,
like
and-
you
and you
get through
train.
it.
It
And
gets
it wasn't that
easier.
bad. You keep doing it.
Yeah,
Wow.
it gets easier as you go along. And then after a while, you'll be able to do tasks and different things.
Oh, you froze again.
That Baltimore internet. No, I'm just kidding.
You to
not
follow
The philosophy
orders.
was, either we're gonna make you or we're gonna break you.
And then
Yeah.
either you're going to be strong or you're going to go home.
Yeah.
Oh no, you don't go home.
You can't
Well,
go
he
home.
didn't go.
Can't go
He was
home?
right.
No.
They put you in a- They put you in the brig.
You had a lot of people who wanted to go home, but once you were in,
Oh,
you
that's
weren't
true.
going
Yeah.
home.
But you can't
Yeah.
cry and be like, okay,
Right.
Oh,
if you
no. You
For
probably
us-
won't.
A lot of
And-
people did. But,
Ronald
but
said some people went home.
But see,
For
he
us.
was, Billy was doing
For
the draft
us, you
too.
got
They needed
recycled.
him.
What'd you say,
We got
Ronald?
drafted. But and, like when we went through, if you didn't make it the first time, you went back through. And you kept going back through basic until you passed or until your contract was up. Once you signed the contract, like that's your contract.
Or
Okay.
if you
we
got
didn't have no
broken.
contract.
Oh,
All we
no.
had was,
Well, you
all
were
we
different
had
with
was,
them.
draft.
all we had was contact. We didn't have no contract.
Because he was drafting the war. They needed
So
him.
Uncle Billy,
Uh-huh.
how did you have to stay in the woods? Like, did you I know we heard some stories about some people had to stay in the woods for like months. Did you have to do that? Like,
Okay, all right. You got dinner and coffee nearby because I'm gonna have to talk a while. Well,
Okay, Tish, he was in the war, so the war is in the
He was
war.
in
we
the
had to go
jungle.
on.
Yeah, he was in the
We had
jungle.
to go on
Oh
missions.
yeah.
We had to go on missions. All right. I was stationed in South Vietnam or Southeast Asia.
Wow.
I was stationed what is known as the Mekong Delta,
Oh yeah.
and the Mekong Delta was nothing but basically swampland and
Wow.
swamplands and rice paddies. So by us having to walk in water that was sometimes waist high, it had mud, human feces, animal feces, and you had to walk in that sometimes maybe miles. And every night you were hoping that you didn't sleep wet. So couldn't get on the padded dikes because the padded dikes were lined with booby traps.
Oh wow.
So we walked through the padded dikes, but by us being in the swamps, we could only be out there for 3 days steady. So by me being a medic, I had to examine everybody's feet to make sure you didn't have ringworm or trench foot. Ringworms was like when you had like big spots on your legs, on your feet.
Right.
Trench foot was like a real bad case of athlete's foot. Yeah, cuts and it smelled and all that. So by me being a medic, I examined the troops' feet, and the only way the captain could outrank me if he had a medical MOS, which means military occupational status. So by me being a medic, I would let him know, sir, the men got to go back now because they need dry socks, dry clothes, and so we stayed out there as long as we needed to. And I was also in what was known as recon. So recon means that we had to go out and recon the area. Like once we hit contact, we had direct contact with the enemy, like shooting at us. Our tanks were blown up.
Wow.
At night, we had to go out and recon the area. In other words, we had to find where they were. So we had to go out, and at night, sometimes we slept in water, maybe a foot high. And
Wait. How you sleep in water? A foot high?
You learn. Matter of fact, the first time I went there, it was night, and the guys who are already used to it, they told me, I looked at them, I said, so we're not going back. They looked at each other and laughed, and they said, Doc, this is where we sleep. And I said, I'm not sleeping in that. So they looked at each other as though to say, you'll learn. So guess what? The next time, please, I rolled up my little poncho liner, my poncho, put my medical bag underneath my head, and I slept like I was in Hotel 601.
601.
No, but the only thing, we had to go out one time to support another unit.
Okay.
And the way that we were, the tide came. First the tide was in there. It was nice and dry, so we were happy. And I was thinking, oh man, this is nice.
Right.
So next thing I know, water still coming in. So by the time the tide came in, I was sitting down, and the water hit me like about maybe waist high. Full of the water was leeches. Now, when you have leeches, you're not supposed to yank them off, but I yanked them off. Then another time, I cut my hair bald. And when I cut my hair bald, because I'm thinking I don't need hair. Well, when I did that, the mosquitoes had a feast.
Oh my goodness.
And then we were walking under some bushes one day, and my buddy got bit by ants, and I was laughing at it. Then I felt something stinging me like fire. We were covered in what's known as red ants or fire ants. So you had to deal with fire ants, you had to deal with booby traps, you had to deal with mosquitoes, you had to deal with leeches, and all of that.
I feel like giving you some money, Uncle Billy.
My app is HWPMONEY.
Yes.
Technical, brother. You don't know that. You're not technical.
I'm so sorry. I'm serious. On behalf of the United States of America.
Guess where he ate?
Well,
He ate on a tombstone in the graveyard. You remember
Mhm.
Billy?
Lord
Said
Jesus.
on the
Then,
tombstone.
then another time we had to go out, and they sent us out on a mission. And by me being a medic, medics can't be in front, they can't be in the back. So I got to be in the middle.
Okay.
Which means because I'm supposed to be protected, but one time our unit got hit by so many booby traps, I had to literally walk point. Point means I've got to be in front of everybody and detect booby traps and all of that.
No.
So anyway, anyway, our unit went out at night, and it was pitch black. So the guy on guard duty, he looked through the spy glass, which is infrared, which means you could light up the night with it. So he saw us, and he went to the captain and he said, basically, sir, I see such and such personnel, permission to shoot to kill. And the captain said, permission granted, shoot to kill. So next thing I know, bullets start coming at us, tracers coming at us, and everybody got down. And I looked around. My strength literally was zapped out. I saw this tracer coming straight to my forehead.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
And I said to myself, I said, man, I said, I'm a Parker. I'm dead. What's my mother going to think? I said, I zigzag, low crawl, the bullet kept coming. So I said, oh, well, I'm dead. And as soon as I resigned myself that I was dead, the bullet went away.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Then what happened, the other guy said, is everybody okay? So I said, that's my job. I said, is everybody okay? They said, we okay, Doc. So when we got back to the base camp, we found out that the people shooting at us were our own men.
Oh,
Wow.
my
Goodness. So
Not
that was
the enemy.
friendly fire.
They were our men. So what happened, we arrived quicker than what they had anticipated. So they mistook us for the enemy. And they did exactly they did exactly what they requested. They tried to kill us.
Oh, wow.
Then another time I was on what's known, well, the APC is an armed personnel carrier, or our tanks, which were amphibious. You could be on water and land. So we were driving one day and our tank hit a landmine and it blew up. So when it blew up, I jumped off, I was zigzagging for cover. And they said, Doc, the men want you to carry a weapon. I said, I don't carry a weapon. She said, can you carry a 45? I said, no, I don't carry a weapon. So we zigzagged, and then that same night, guess what we had to do? What? We had to go back out and try to find where the enemy came from.
Wow.
What? Billy, how do you happen to be a medic, Billy? How do you happen to be a medic?
Because that's what they needed. Now, I wanted to be an engineer. I wanted carpentry. So rather than give me carpentry, they sent me to medical school, and I didn't want that. So I went to the major because one of the other guys was going to carpentry school. And I said, oh, I took it up in school. So I went to the major. I said, sir, I said, I want to go to carpentry school. He said, well, we're already sending you to Vietnam. I said, well, send somebody else. He said, no. He said, I said, well, they don't know they're going in my place. Then he told me, he looked at me. He said, if I had you in Vietnam, I would shoot you.
Wow.
I looked at him.
Wow.
I saluted, did an about face, and got sent to Vietnam.
Wow.
Then another time, we were going in what we call the wood line. Okay, now that's known as the woods, the forest, and all the trees. That's the wood line.
Okay.
So when you're in a war zone, you develop a real keen sense. So when I was close to danger, things smelled spicy. And I said, and I was thinking, I said, man, something's gonna happen.
Wow.
So we saw all the signs that the enemy was there, but we didn't see anybody. And we saw a sign saying TUDAI. And ironically, TUDAI means danger, but it's pronounced as to die.
Good Lord.
Which means you're going to die. But so what happened? They had the symbols was when Viet Cong set up booby traps to die was really a warning to the people that don't come here. So whenever you saw something in threes, like 3 pieces of grass, 3 pieces of branches, that was a symbol, a sign that there's danger here. So we went in and we had a young captain. And we went in, it was getting dark. So I said, man, we got to get out of here because it's getting dark. So we went back across the canal. When we went back across, the captain said, what are you doing? Get back in. So we said, sir, there's nothing there. He said, well, go back. So we said, no, we're not going back. It's dark, we're not going back. So the captain says, now, believe it or not, during wartime, if they give you a direct order and you refuse, they really have the option to draw their weapon and give you a direct command. If you refuse, you can literally be shot on the spot.
Wow.
Oh yeah. But, so anyway, I said, we're not going. So the platoon sergeant, everybody says, he says, Doc, we got to go. So wherever my men went, the medics got to go. So just as we were getting to go in, next thing you know, our Tiger Scout said, VC. And at that time, it was full automatic all around us. So the instinct and training says, maybe you are being shot at, you automatically get down low. So remember now, I'm in like the swamps of Patty Dykes, and it's pure thick mud. The mud is so thick, it's like quicksand. So I'm sinking down. You don't walk, you have to like plow through it. So as I'm being shot at, I automatically get down and I get a mouthful of human waste, animal waste, and mud. And as I'm in it, they're shooting at me, and the bullets are coming around my head just like a target. What? Just my head. And the water's going sploosh, 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 because they're shooting at me. So I said to myself, I said, man, they're trying to kill me. So this is what came to me. If you get to the high ground, you'll be safe. So in reality now, you have to picture like you say like you're standing on a desk and I'm on the floor. Mm-hmm. So that means that the higher up that you are, the easier for you to see me if I'm out in the distance. But if I get close, you gotta look down and get me. So I jumped up and I started zigzagging. And when you're zigzagging, you gotta switch patterns because otherwise they're determining which way you're going and they're out thinking. Right. So I'm zigzagging, as I'm zigzagging, they're still shooting. So I finally get to the base of the barrier. So one of my buddies says, he says, Doc, he said, where's your weapon? I said, you know I don't carry a weapon. He says, well, do you have any grenades? I said, no, I have no grenades. So anyway, they're shooting. And when they're shooting, the guys are being shot up and everything because everybody's all bunched up. So when they're shooting, next thing I know, I just came out from all that stuff. And I heard the dreaded cry, medic. And I said, oh man, I don't want to go out there. I just came out of there. Oh, so by me being a medic, I got to go get him. So when I went out there, he was shot in the side or shot in the buttocks. Now I'm balancing him up, and I finally get him. Now I got to get him dusted off. Dust off means, okay, dust off is our helicopters that take us back to the rear to the hospitals. Now, dust off means this. Dust off means dedicated, unselfish service to our fighting forces. So then when I finished, my buddy said, he says, Doc, he said, do you know why I asked you for it? Did you have any grenade? I said, no. He said, because while you were bandaging up that guy, there's a big Kong standing over you with a drawn weapon.
Wow.
Oh my Lord.
That's crazy.
So I believe if I had been carrying a weapon, I would have been killed on the spot.
Wow.
Uncle Billy, you need to write a book.
Hey,
Billy, now.
You do.
Billy,
Serious.
Let me say something real quick that Brenda is on here. She said, thank you all for your service. Thank God you made it back home.
Yes.
Billy, I want to say something, Billy. Can I say something right quick? Every service we had at church, Mama got up and said, she had 2 boys over there. Say, pray for my sons and also for the others. every service she got out was praying for her son.
Wow.
Yeah, you need to write a book, Uncle Billy.
It was prayer. Prayer brought y'all back.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So my nickname was over there was Doc Soul.
Doc Soul.
See, back during those days, we were known as Soul Brothers
Oh.
and Soul Sisters. So so I had a reputation. So they asked me, they said, "Are you Doc?" They said, "What's your name?" I said, "Doc." They said, "Oh," they said, "We heard about you."
Wow.
They said that you were crazy. That whatever somebody called you, so my motto was, if you call me, I will be there. So speaking about that, another time we had went through like some bushes, and you're taught to always go around. So as I'm walking, my Tiger Scout. Now, whenever you see like a string, that means that there's it may be a potential booby trap, which is called a daisy chain, which means you have maybe 10 grenades linked together on a vine or string, and when you hit that string, it automatically blew up. So we were taught not to travel in bunches. So you had to be at least what we call 5 feet between you and the other person, because if they shot, they could shoot a lot of other people with one bullet, so you had to have space. So anyway, as we were walking, we walked through the grass, and normally you gotta be careful because booby traps are there. So we had another guy that had been in the country for a while. And when he walked through, well, anyway, let's get to the guy first. So the Tiger Scout, he put his hands on my chest, and I looked at him, and he pointed down. When he pointed down, there was a vine, and he traced the vine. And in the bushes, there was about maybe 10 or whatever grenades attached to it, which meant if I had hit it, I would have triggered these booby traps, these grenades. So one of the guys, I heard screaming, saying, "Medic, medic, medic." So now my company was Bravo. So the other company was probably C company or Charlie. So when I heard the booby trap,
Charlie.
when I heard the screaming, my first instinct is to respond to the wounded guy. So I'm running, and I'm on the paddy dikes, and they saying, "Let him pass, let him pass," because I was moving swift, y'all. Huh? Come on now. So as I'm running, I finally saw the wounded guy. His leg had been so emaciated by the booby trap. Have you ever cleaned a fish and you clean the scales off so much that it becomes pulpy in your hands?
Never cleaned the fish.
Well, his legs were so chewed up and blown up that the putrid smell of hot blood is in your nose. He's bleeding and he's screaming because he's in a excruciating pain. So he said, "Doc," he said, "give me some morphine." Now we were taught, don't give morphine unless you absolutely had to, because when you gave morphine, the doctor couldn't determine how bad you were hurt because you were being numbed by the morphine. So anyway, I said, "Well, I'm not going to give you that." So when his medical finally came, he said, "Go give it to him." So I gave him that. Then I put on what we call like the type of splint. It's like a bubble. That's because he had multiple injuries and all of that kind of stuff. That's what we had to deal with.
Wow.
But see, by me not carrying a weapon, when we didn't carry a weapon, when they got pinned down, I got pinned down. When they got ambushed, I got ambushed. So whatever, even though I didn't carry a weapon, I was in everything just like them. And one time I even had to pull guard duty.
Wow.
Because when I woke up, the guard was asleep. So yep.
I know Ronald and Willie and Maria didn't go through that. Lord, jeez.
No, because it wasn't wartime. The war was over.
Yeah.
I think somebody
When y'all
died
went.
on your watch, Billy. You say he wasn't all that bad. He was.
I want to hear about Willie and Ronald. Maria.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, wait. We gotta hear from Aunt Darlene too.
Oh yeah, Aunt Darlene. Yeah, she just came on.
You
Aunt
should have done this in
Darlene.
reverse order.
Yeah, because I think she was in the
I'm
Coast
sorry,
Guard, right?
I know. I apologize. That's right.
What did Ronald say?
He said we could have gone in reverse order.
Oh,
Theirs
Yeah.
wasn't as intense as Uncle
Right. Right.
Right,
So,
right,
I
yeah.
mean, we asked everybody what motivated them to join the military. What was your time? How
In
tell us
boot camp.
about your time in boot camp and all that kind of stuff. So, what
Well,
motivated
first,
you?
I want to say hi to Ron and Mrs. Ron,
Mrs. Ron.
and to Willie, who I haven't seen, and I don't know
I
when.
know. Hey, darling.
Hi. Well,
How, Darlene? Y'all, turn light on.
I don't know. I don't have no story like my husband.
I know, right?
think nobody do.
Right, I'm sure not.
So, what motivated you?
What motivated me was, I think I was just tired of doing what I was doing. When I got out of school, I lived in New Jersey, went back home, and I got a job. I was working for the state, and I was just bored, I guess. So I was trying to go in the Air Force, but they had a very long waiting list.
Okay.
And so the Coast Guard, I could go probably within the next month or so. And that's what I said, whoa, I can get out of Dodge now. So that's how I ended up in the Coast Guard.
Okay.
That wasn't my first choice. So I went in the Coast Guard. I went in as a reserve, Coast Guard reserve. And a lot of the people that came in with me, they came in as reserve, but a lot of them converted over to full time. But I worked for the state of New Jersey, and the federal government took precedence over that. So they had to hold my job for me. So that helped me make my decision. If I had nothing to go back to, I probably would have went full time. But I was like, well, I'm not loving this. So let me back up and see if it's something else I want to do. And I only did that like once a month. You know how reserves, they go once a month. But I went to boot camp in Cape May, New Jersey. It was a real eye opener. I mean, they had this thing they called double time. Every time you left your barracks, you had to run everywhere. I had the biggest muscles in my legs when I got out of boot camp.
Wow.
You know, they could just tell you anytime, drop and give me these push-ups and everything. I did learn how to do some push-ups though. I built up some muscles. That's what I can say I did there.
Yeah.
But it was real structured, and if you didn't have discipline, you would have been disciplined when you left. We did have a guy in our company. He was like real hard. He didn't listen to anybody. He didn't do anything they said. Every time he got in trouble, they reverted him back. He had to stay in boot camp a whole extra week. So when we graduated out of boot camp, he still probably had about 5 weeks to do. But but it changed his attitude though. He was more friendly. He was listening. So they had to like break him. And
That's what he was
I guess that's what boot camp is probably designed to do that also.
Yeah.
But some people have their own discipline, so they don't catch it like that. Then when I left there, I went to the schooling part of it. I went over to Virginia to the schooling part of it to learn my job and everything. And then I left there, I went to my on-the-job training, which was in New Jersey. And what I did is I drove 41-foot boats. And we patrolled the harbor for oil spills, for those big tankers and things. When they come into the harbor, sometimes they're spilling oil. And so we had to go out and check those. And sometimes we went out at night. And what was interesting about that is that driving in the water is like driving in the street. They had those buoys and things in the water. They all mean something. That's why sometimes people have all these accidents on the water, because you may be on the wrong side of the buoys, you know, like they go down this way and come up that way. And those great big ships at night, they're very quiet. You can't even hear them when they're riding next to you. So it's certain things you used to have to look out for if you went out at night. Like sometimes they had traps out in the water for crabbing. But they had a certain kind of light on it so that you can recognize that's what it is. So you wouldn't run into it. So you had to actually learn the rules of the water to drive those boats. And so that was interesting.
Wow.
I forgot how to do it, but I was pretty good at it then.
Okay.
But anyway, while I was there, that's when I met my husband. He was actually stationed at the same location where I went to my OJT.
Okay.
So when as time went on and we got married, I moved to Baltimore. I was doing my reserve duty at Curtis Bay. I used to have to go once a month until I got out. But then they kept me on the thing for like 6 years. I guess if some kind of big emergency happened, they call everybody back or something. Okay. But that never happened. So the whole time I was in the military, it was not wartime at any time.
Yeah.
I didn't have to ever get sent out into the ocean when they have all those, big crashes out in the ocean. And when things happen out in the ocean with ships and things, the Coast Guard goes out to rescue. Their main duty in the Coast Guard, the main thing that they do was search and rescue.
Oh, okay.
But we also had to go to the range because you had to know how to shoot. And if a big enough war broke out, the Coast Guard would be the last branch they pulled into it, but you still had to know what to do.
Wow.
So I was in during a peaceful time, and I don't have those kind of war stories. I'm so glad I didn't.
Lord have mercy.
So did you
That flesh and all that stuff.
Being in the Coast Guard, was your boot camp different, you think, from the Army boot camp?
No, actually, our boot camp was designed after the Marines.
Okay.
And they would always make sure we knew that they tried to be as hard on us as they possibly could. Okay. Because the Marines had a, what was that location? They called it, I forgot what they had.
Paris Island?
Huh?
Was it Paris Island?
Paris Island.
Yes, that's what it was. And they were saying that you went there. Are you in the Marines?
No, he was in the Army.
No, Army. He's in the Army.
It's in North Carolina.
It's a famous installation.
Yeah.
Everybody knew about that, and they tried to treat us like we were in Paris Island. So it was very hard at times. The one relieving thing about where I was stationed at in Cape May, New Jersey, we were right on the coast of the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay.
So when we did get a little liberty or something, we could actually walk over to where the ocean was. It was real peaceful down there.
Okay.
So we were like right on the coast where they were stationed at. But yeah, Paris Island, they always let us know.
Okay. I have one point to make. Boot camp, it's not Army. Boot camp is Coast Guard and maybe Navy, but the Army is called basic training.
Basic training.
Yeah, basic is for the Army. Boot camp is Marines, Air Force.
Yeah,
Coast Guard. I think it's everything else.
Okay, no, that's good to know.
I have a question for Darlene. Did you have to train to intercept drug runners? I know the Coast Guard does that. Train to intercept drug runners. I know Coast Guard does a lot of that.
Yeah, we had to do that. But we weren't carrying weapons then. But then when things got worse, you had to carry. Now, we had an armory, but you weren't allowed to carry weapons unless you went out for that purpose. We also had to watch out for like the antennas. Like you weren't allowed to have a certain type of antenna. If you did, we would go out and investigate you at night and climb aboard without you knowing we were even aboard.
Oh, wow.
Okay, well, we have Butch on here. He said, hi, everybody. Willie, man, what's up with the face, with the face?
Hey, that's wisdom.
But I just want to, before we wrap up, Ronald, do you have anything to add to it?
Oh, negative. No, I do not. Nothing.
What about Maria?
She ain't been nowhere.
She's smiling at you. She's smiling.
Did Ronald go to Afghanistan?
Yeah, I mean, it was.
He did.
So this is one thing I wanted to ask Billy. The whole not having a weapon thing. I understand you was a medic, but you said you was pulling gate guard. Everybody, no matter what job you had a weapon. When I went to Afghanistan. Oh no! When I went to Afghanistan, I was a contractor. When I went to Iraq, everybody had a weapon.
I was on guard in the field.
What's going on?
Oh,
on a front line.
Oh, okay.
Objector.
So I just
One
wanna
thing it
thank
gave y'all the good skills. Y'all got skills in the military.
Yeah.
That was good.
find
Yeah,
good
that
jobs and
was.
stuff.
I don't know.
Yes. Absolutely,
We
absolutely.
think it's 7 o'clock. We want to thank everyone for coming on our show. Very interesting. We appreciate you guys coming on here, sharing your war stories, Uncle Billy. I was like, man, it's like vivid in your head. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
That's
So
why I say he need to write a book.
and stuff. Thank you
Do.
so much, Aunt Darlene, for coming on.
Yes.
Ronald and Maria. And
Yes.
tune in next Friday to Mary L. Farmer and Chilling with the Girls.
With the
We'll see y'all
Girls.
later. Bye.